do not get the hype. I don't get the hype on this one, and I know it's gonna break a lot of hearts, but I have some words to say about this and why I rated it so low. Hopefully you'll hear me out instead of just yelling at me in the comments. Hey friends, welcome to my channel. My name is Mandy, the Handmade Homeschooler, and today we're going to talk about the books I read in July. So believe it or not, we are just a few days away from August. August means starting school again. August means I get to decorate my house for fall. Yes, I decorate in August. It's my house, my rules. And it's my youngest birthday coming up. So there's lots of things going on in August. So I finished up a bunch of books this last week and we're gonna talk about them. So my first book of the month was an audiobook, which was a biography of Dietrich Bonhoeffer, and it is on the Canon Plus app, and that is from Canon Press. I think it's like, when we signed up it was $7 a month, but I think it's like $10 now. Totally worth it. There's hundreds of books on there for every single age. And this was kind of the kids version, which is fine. I liked it. I thought it was a great book. I have never heard of Dietrich Bonhoeffer until I saw a movie premiere video type of thing. What are those called? Movie trailers. Wow. Yeah, sorry about that. I saw a movie trailer for a new movie coming out about him. So I decided I wanted to read a biography or a book about him, and I just happened to have that one and it was free on the app, so I went ahead and got it. Great book, kid friendly. This is from the Christian Heroes Then and Now series. So this one is made for children. I really think this is for kids of any age. It wasn't like so juvenile in the language that, you know, parents couldn't enjoy it. I thought it was a great one. This would be a really good family read aloud too. And I feel like if you're studying World War II, this is a great one to throw into the mix as well. The second book I read was also a Canon Plus app book, and this was John Piper's For Your Joy. I'm not sure if this one counts as a book or as more of like a pamphlet. I don't know. I've heard people call it both. I read his book on, is it called Jesus and Coronavirus? It was something like that. I have it on my bookshelf in the other room. I read that one. I think that was actually my first John Piper book. Really good book. I liked that one. It was really short and sweet. You can get through it in an hour, and I just listened to it while I was making dinner one night. My third book of the month was from Reformation Lightning, and they sent me The Girl on the Tube. If you are moving soon, grab this book for your teens. This one, I want to say this is probably middle grade, but I really think middle grade and up could enjoy this book, and even below middle grade too. If you read aloud, some of the language might be a little bit too difficult to understand for the younger kids, but that's okay. This would be a good read aloud book. So this one, our main character, Addie, she and her dad are moving to London after the death of her mother. They really don't talk much about the death of her mother, so there's no major, talk of anything like that. It's not morbid or anything. That's just where they decided to move because her dad wanted a fresh start. So they're moving from America over to London, and this is about her really kind of finding herself and who she is and learning to live in another country and start over with her father and all the emotions that she goes through during that time, being the age that she is. You know, that's a really hard age to move. I moved when I was about that age from Indiana to Florida, and that was really hard on me. I remember that time. So it's, you know, while I didn't move to a different country, moving across the country, it felt like an entire different country. When you go from the Midwest to South Florida, it's a very strange, time, and it's a very strange experience. You know, you have to get used to, different languages, different foods, different cultures, and you know, that's exactly what Addie had to deal with. So I really liked that. This was a short and sweet book. This book is only 139 pages. It's mainly, I would say this is mainly more of a girl-friendly book. It has pink edges and everything. I could say my youngest, who is Addie's age, probably wouldn't want to read this book, but it is a good read aloud, I think, for the entire family too. Kind of a neat book. I really enjoyed it. Thank you, Reformation Lightning. Definitely recommend this one for your middle grade kids here. Okay, my next book was a Kindle book. And I hate doing this. I really, really hate doing this. So you guys know last month, if you watched my video, I read like 6 books in a series called the Yesterday series. It's an 8-book series. Books 7 and 8 are a different character and the character is very close to the main character of the first 6 books. I really, really wanted to like this book. I did. I tried so hard. I got to like 85% and I just abandoned the book. I just abandoned ship, guys. I couldn't get through it. I don't know. I don't know if I just don't like her voice, maybe. Maybe I just don't like, she seems so immature, I think, to me, that I just could not get through the rest of the book and I just abandoned ship. So I went ahead and called it red at 85% and I was like, I'm done. I can't do it anymore. So yeah, that's where we are with that one. I will not be reading book 8. I don't like talking bad about authors' books. They put a lot of time and hard work into it. It just wasn't for me. It was a clean book, but I feel like it was just too immature. Maybe it's because I'm turning 40 in a couple months. I don't know. It was just too immature for me. So putting that one back. Okay, the next book. The author reached out to me, Misty Winkler, and she emailed me about this book, and it's called Simplified Organization, but I feel like this is more of a devotional for housewives. This is like, this book was so good. I'm telling you, like, you guys know I read really fast. I devoured this book bit by bit. Like, I had to just kind of read a chapter and sit on it. And I highlighted and underlined and annotated all over the place. Like, I could never give this book to anybody just because my handwriting is all over this book. I feel like I used it as a notebook. But there was so many good things in here that I wanted to remember that I just couldn't help myself. I had to just underline and everything. She picked out some of the best material from some of my favorite authors like Rachel Jankovic, N.D. Wilson. This isn't just a book on organization. This is a book on getting your heart right to tackle those tasks, if that makes sense. So this is a book on homemaking. It is a book on organization, but it's also a book on our relationship with Christ first. Highly, highly recommend this book. I wrote a blog about it. It is down in the description box. Highly recommend, if you're interested in this book, go check out that blog. I wrote so much more about this book and why it came to me at the time that it did. It was just so providential. So I could say so many great things about that book, but I have a limited amount of time here on YouTube, so go read that one. Probably why you clicked on this video is because of this next book. And I'm gonna get yelled at. I know I am. But at the same time, I can't lie. I can't just lie about a book. All right. I saw this book all over Instagram. It's called Dumbing Us Down by John Taylor Gatto. Gatto. I don't know, however you want to say it. I apologize. I'm not sure exactly how to say his last name there. All right. So this book was written in the early 90s when I was in school. And this is from a teacher who had 25 years of experience, won the Teacher of the Year award, and who resigned his post around the same time. And he wrote this book about mass schooling, is what he calls it. So basically the public school system. So let me say, the good thing about this book is it kind of outlines the beginnings of public school a little bit for maybe somebody who doesn't know much about public school, the system, and what they teach. I liked the first part of the book where he talks about the 7 lessons that he taught every single class of students that he had. And as a former teacher myself, I can say, yes, that's exactly what we teach. Even if we don't realize that we're teaching that, those are 7 things that we are actually teaching. And, you know, I found myself kind of nodding in agreement with a lot of the things that he was saying. And, you know, it made a lot of sense. However, It doesn't really go too in depth about the founder of public school. He doesn't talk much about, you know, like Horace Mann and where his worldview came from, things like that. It really, I mean, I read probably 90% of this book before I had to stop. It was driving me nuts. I got the point. I feel like he got his point across pretty quick in the book. This is a smaller book. This is only 113 pages, and the print is actually pretty large. Like, this is a large book. It's kind of like a bunch of short essays put together and in separate chapters and called a book. Where I disagree with this guy, and where I think you as Christian parents, because most of you watching are Christian homeschool parents, if you're going to read this book, I need to make something very clear. This man is coming from a humanist worldview, and he's upset how the other humanists teach the children. So it kind of goes back to the question that I always ask, by what standard? By what standard is he disliking the school system? By what standard does he gripe? And it's a humanist standpoint, which is the same standpoint that they have. The humanist worldview comes out a lot in this book. So one of the quotes in here is, "We might be able to see that if we regained a hold on philosophy that locates meaning where meaning is genuinely to be found in families, friends, and passage of season, nature, ceremonies and ritual, curiosity, generation, compassion, and service to others." Nowhere in there does he mention God, that our ultimate joy is to be found in our Creator. And we see this over and over again in the book. He talks about community so much. He talked about community so much, all I could hear was
that when we talk about the children of the community, they are the children of the community.
It seems like his focus on community was one of the biggest reasons why children shouldn't be educated in mass schooling type of settings. So basically, he's just a humanist who thinks we should educate our children in a different way. So while, yeah, there are some interesting tidbits, and he's, you know, all for homeschooling, which is kind of weird to see, you know, somebody in secular world be like, yay, homeschooling. And I think that's why people in the homeschooling movement like this book so much. This is not one I would recommend. I feel like I really didn't take much away from this book other than the fact that he's just griping about his own school system. So no, I don't agree with him on that. You know, and here's another quote just to bring it home. "At the core of this elite system of education is the belief that self-knowledge is the only basis of true knowledge." Now, what does the Bible say? The Bible says that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. So this is not in line with a biblical worldview. And this right here is exactly the worldview of John Locke and Rene Descartes. It's the same thing. It's these old philosophers, and this guy constantly quotes Aristotle and Plato and, you know, all the Greek philosophers, and you can tell exactly where his worldview is coming from. It's coming from this humanist worldview. So rather than that book, I would recommend this one if you want a book on getting your kids out of the public school system. This one is called Excused Absence by Douglas Wilson. This was one of the best books I read on the same exact subject, but from a biblical worldview, and this one was very rich. This one was very rich, and I feel like I took away so much from this book, and it's one that I will probably reread again and again. This one, I don't think it's really worth it. You don't really learn a whole lot that you didn't already know. It's just somebody in the secular world who says, yay, homeschoolers, they're doing something innovative and they're doing something cool, and you know, they're educating their kids differently, and we should take a look at that. Rather than, what does God say? What does God say about education and the role of the parents in education? What does God say about children and how we should bring them up? What does God say about wisdom? You know, why were we created and why were our children given to us? It doesn't go into any of that because he's not a Christian. So at the heart of it, this one is a better book. And at the end of the day, I'm not saying that he is a bad person. I'm just saying worldview matters, and it matters a lot. So I'm not saying don't read this book. I'm just saying if you want to read this book, go into it knowing what it is, because I had so many Christian homeschooling friends recommending this book that I was like, well, he must be a Christian, and I was totally wrong on that. I should have done my own research on that a little bit more. But so I have a couple books that I'm reading right now for August, and of course you can follow me on Goodreads. I have a Goodreads account where I update all of that stuff as I'm reading. I'm reading a couple of different things right now. I have some books waiting on the shelf for me. I always have something waiting, so let me know down below in the comments what you are reading. I can't wait to see what you guys have, and I will see you in the next video. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day and happy homeschooling.